manually. Let's give these folks a chance to catch up. Because evidently tonight, Facebook is the only one that wanted to work. This is technology, right? This is how it goes. Some days one works and the others don't, and then they switch it around just to keep us on our toes. Son of a gun. Okay, manual start seems to have worked for Periscope. So hello, Periscope. Thanks for joining us. We are going to be talking about book recommendations for business analysts. And these are not your usual recommendations because, we have to be different. And also, you've already seen all the recommended ones. Okay, so it looks like everybody's with us now. So that's good. Glad to hear that. So, let me start over. Because, hey, why not? Take two. There is no take two. This is live. Hello and welcome. My name is Kathleen, and you are at the BA Zone Live. Welcome, welcome. Don't panic. Meyer is okay. She is actually doing quite fine. It's just that she had scheduled a day off, actually 3 days off, and one of them coincided with the show, so I said I would jump in, but this was planned way before she heard it back, so it's okay. Don't worry about it. And we are going to talk about our recommendations for business analysts, recommended readings kind of a thing. We had done this a while ago, and people have been asking for us to update it, so that's what we're going to do tonight. So since we've already lost a little time, let's just dive right in. Does that sound good? All right. Let me bring everything up. Okay, we've got that. I still have a mic. These are all good things. All right, so we're going to talk about the best books for our fellow business analysts who want to up their game. Hang on one second. I'm going to have a cough. Okay, see, the cough button is important. It spares you from that. All right, let me get this puppy going. All right, so we are going to talk about, center myself, books for these different categories. Last time we did it, we just ran through our favorite books. I thought we would sort of organize it because that's what we do, right? We are chronic organizers. That's why we're good at what we do. So I broke it into a couple of categories. So the inside scoop on working on software development projects. I realize not everybody does that, but we got a lot of questions from the folks who are working on software development. So understand that this may not apply to everybody, but it might just be interesting reading for you anyway. Then we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of software design because, again, that was where a lot of the questions were coming in. And then we're going to get business analysts generic, right? So the requirements, documentation process, how to communicate your research processes and designs, your suggestions, your solutions, that kind of thing. And then we're going to throw in a couple of up-and-coming topics that are going to be very important, certainly this year and the next couple of years, even more so. So that is where we're going. Everybody ready? Okay, get your credit cards ready, I know. But it's all part of the job, right? We have to stay up to date. We have to keep our brains fresh, and there's a cost. All right, so first, the inside scoop for those of you who have not worked on software development projects or who are working on software development projects and think maybe whatever is going on in your life right now is weird. It's not, okay? So this is the first book. It's called Peopleware. I think I'm going to have to go with the on-screen examples. So this is a slightly older book. Give me one sec and I can bring that example over for you, or not. Here we go. But don't let the fact that it's a little bit old throw you, because this is a book that is timeless, and there's a reason for that. I'm going to take myself off so you can see it. You don't have to get it through Amazon, of course. You can get it just about anywhere. It's just easy to show books on Amazon, right? It's where they started. So just because a recommendation or a book that you find is a little out of date, unless it's about actually doing like coding or that type of thing, don't let it being out of date throw you, because, and here's the important thing, technology changes, people not so much. So, I mean, we do, right? Long ago and far away, the idea of carrying this in our pocket would have felt very sci-fi, and now we don't even think about it. But putting that aside, people change. Let's say that people change much more slowly than technology does. And this particular book is all about the people who you will meet, that's Sesame Street, no, during your software development projects. Those of you who haven't read it and are working on a software development project now are going to read this and go, and laugh, and and laugh, because everybody you're working with is in this book. And they've got very real world examples. Now, yes, the examples are a little out of date, but the reality of the politics and the people and the way that people interact and go through the process and what happens and the discussions, all exactly the same today, just the words are a little different. So this is the first one that we're recommending. By the way, you're welcome, of course, to take a pen and paper and write all these titles down, but I am also going to put them into Facebook and YouTube in the description, so you'll have the whole list there with the links. The links that we provide to Amazon are affiliate links, just so you know. If you click on the link to buy the book through that link, Amazon gives us pennies, literally. But you know what? Pennies add up. If 100 of you do this, or you buy 100 books, that's a whole $1 to us, and money counts. So just so you know, the Amazon links will be affiliate links, the others won't be. For you folks on Periscope, of course, there's no place for me to put that kind of information. So what I'm going to do, and everybody else obviously can visit this too, but I will put a blog post up on thebazone.com, and you can go there and I'll have a list of all the books there. So if you don't feel like writing all the titles down, no worries, I've got you covered. Okay? All right, let's make that go away. So that is basically the starting point. So if you are working on a software development project, or you are going to be, or you want to be, this is the book you want to start with, because this will prepare you for what will come. And it's not bad. It's just if you've not worked in that environment before, some of it may throw you. And we don't want that to happen to our friends. So that is why we put that there for you. All right, we will keep going now. Okay, so that was it for that particular category. For the nuts and bolts of software design, we have several. The first one, I do have that here, don't I? I do. Okay, actually, so let me just do a little disclaimer on this before we get into it too much. The next few that I'm going to mention are going to mention this site a lot. So this is called A Book Apart. A Book Apart is many times awesome because it has very practical, useful information in very small books. So give me 1 sec and I will bring one up here. Now these links won't be affiliates, but let me just show you the average size. Actually, I'll show you a couple so you don't think I'm lying. Okay, so this is 3 books. Okay, they are known for their brevity. And yet in these very small books that literally you could, if you're a speed reader, you get through them in an hour and a half or so. If you're not, maybe take a weekend. But incredibly packed with information, great examples. So I recommend these to a lot of people because a lot of people get overwhelmed sometimes with books, but I've never pointed anybody to the list apart stuff and had them get overwhelmed, because they don't do it that way. They understand the time crunch, and so they write to the point. There's not a lot of fluff. There's not the history of the world in them. It is this topic in a nutshell, what you need to know in order to be able to be functional. It's not deep dive kind of stuff, but it is a great way to get yourself into the water of these things. So the next few books I'm going to mention are going to come from there. So let's start with the first. So the first is Everyday Information Architecture by Lisa Marie Martin. Now this is pretty much a Bible for IA. Okay, sorry, I've got the wrong one up. Not that one. There we go. I just had them out of order. That happens. Okay, let me take my picture down so you can see this. So this is a tiny book. Do they still list? They used to list the number of pages. Let me see if they still do. 126 pages. Not intimidating, right? And this breaks down everything you need to know and understand about information architecture in a way that is actionable. So it's not like it's just a bunch of definitions or anything. It is actually useful information that you can use on your projects as soon as you close the book. So it is a great starting point for anybody who maybe has done IA but maybe not done it in a structured way, just kind of by the seat of your pants. If you're looking for that structure, if you're looking for a little bit more depth and process around it, this book is definitely a big win for you. Next up is, I'm going to be flipping these back and forth a lot. Responsive design. I always have to do that slowly because I always trip over it. So this is a very practical approach to the reality of the fact that everybody's working off of these, or Chromebooks, or tablets, or even, laptops, but they're, mobile and out in the world. So this is dealing with all of the issues around speed and lagging networks and global audiences, right? This is all very real information that is actually applicable to everybody, right? I mean, unless you're working for a company that is really only doing something for an internal location. Hey, Stacey, how you doing? Welcome. So if you're looking for real practical information about what is important when you are trying to build something for the audience of everybody or the audience of everywhere, either or both of those are going to come up a lot these days. If you're working for a large corporation, odds are they're international. And so you're going to have to deal with different languages, different, what's the word I'm looking for? It's going away. But different practices, different habits, different expectations, and different technology, right? Some people have massive bandwidth, some people not so much. Some people are working on the latest and greatest hardware, some people not so much. And yet what you design has to work for everybody. Now, does that mean that everybody has to work with a tool that only works on the old stuff and the slow stuff? No. You can build things that are fluid and responsive and are able to make the best presentation of the application or the information given the realities of the person who is receiving it. So it will scale accordingly if somebody has, fiber, or if somebody is on a weak mobile signal, somewhere out in the woods someplace. These are what happens. This is the real world. So this is very practical. It's about responsible, sustainable planning ahead for performance, not responding to it after it's going badly, and just being responsible in what you're planning, what you're designing, and what's being built by your teams. Now, of course, we're business analysts, so we can only suggest and recommend solutions, but having this kind of information in your pocket can definitely help push things in the right direction. And these days, anybody who is paying attention is trying to be responsible on all of these different topics, so this will be information that will be very helpful to your project. And it is the kind of thing that, and you're going to hear me say this a lot tonight, it's easier to plan in and build in than it is to go back and fix later. I think I'm going to have t-shirts made that say that, because I'm sort of dealing with that myself right now. But that is a fact of life, right? If you build it in, you plan it in, even if it has to be implemented in stages, it is just going to be much easier than it is to go back and retrofit something that was done poorly, but quick. Woohoo, it was quick. Now we have to tear it apart. Anyway, okay, so along the same topic is mobile first. If you are building applications, if you are doing things on the web at all, go get this book now, okay? It is, again, it's on the book apart. Do I need to say anything more than this is what Google and Bing are using as a big part of the measuring stick for their analytics to decide where you show up in search results. So why not? Plus the fact that it is responsible, okay? It is fluid, it works on all devices, you code once, it works everywhere, which are all good things. But these are the kinds of things that, again, it needs to be planned for. It works much better if it is built that way. And by reading, now what is this one? I didn't look at the page count on the other one, but I can go back if you want to know. This is 123 pages. So this is actually less than the first one. The first was 126. Let's see what this one was. That was that one. This one is 188 pages. Okay, so responsible, which makes sense, right? It takes a lot to explain how to be responsible and responsive. But again, we're under 200 pages for each one of these so far, and many of them will fall into that window there. And so this is another great one to get you started off on the right foot. Now, that doesn't mean that if you are retrofitting, that you don't get any benefit out of these, because you're going to have to. All the legacy systems, all the existing systems, all the systems that were built without this in mind are going to have to go there. So you're going to want to read these and then look for opportunities as you're working on your projects to start to work these things in, because it's going to take time, but it is absolutely doable. The rule of thumb generally is every time you write new code, you start off with this kind of stuff. Every time you touch old code, you bring it up to standards with this. And then through that process, over time, you'll get to where you want to go. It may not be as sexy as tearing it apart and starting over, but that's not always an option. But that doesn't mean that you can't reach the goal. It just means you have to go about it a little bit different, and these books will help you. So again, let me just bring this over here again so you can see the list. And get my name away. And bring me back up again. What the heck? So these are the first 3 of the nuts and bolts of software design. So this will help you if you are working on projects and you're curious about these things, or you're hearing these things come up, but you're not really sure what everybody's talking about. These will get you up to speed. If you are the one that knows that this needs to happen, but you're maybe fighting an uphill battle, these will help give you those pieces of information, those examples, those proof of concept kind of things that will help you get the rest of the team on board with you. Sound good? Alrighty, I'm just going to double check that. Yes, okay, so because 2 things weren't working, I just want to make sure that they're working now. You know, a little paranoia. No, I don't want to see top chat. I want to see all chat. There we go. Alrighty. Yeah, Stacey, I don't know if you've come across the A Book Apart folks, but they've got good stuff. Really good stuff. Okay. Do it right the first time, basically. That is, yeah, that's sort of, that's the dream, right, John? I mean, everybody wants to do that as the dream. That, if we could all do that, life would be a lovely place. It's not always possible, but it is a lovely, lovely goal. I firmly believe that it's a good place to shoot for, even if you don't get there. Better to set the bar high. All right, let's keep rocking and rolling. We got a lot to cover. Okay, so we got a few more on this particular category. Now, don't panic. I know she's talking code here, and yes, I do love code. Why is this not? Hang on, let me see if I can make this fit again. This gets weird sometimes on me. Oh, okay, there, that should work better now. It's probably because I'm dragging stuff back and forth. Okay. Yes, I am talking about code, but here we go. Okay. First of all, these are designed for designers. This is not targeted at techie folk. So it is thin, okay? It gets to the point, but it does not overwhelm you with the jargon. So, a list of parts. Okay, a list of parts. This is the CSS3. This one's a little bit thicker, but it's thicker for a reason. It's got a lot of examples and pictures in it. So again, don't be overwhelmed by it. This is not, if you are curious about coding, these are good ways to start. But this doesn't have to be the reason that you read it. What is that bringing up here? Oh. Too many things I'm clicking. These are not necessarily about learning how to code. Okay, that's possible. Absolutely. These are a good starting point if you are curious about it. But if you're just curious about how it works, okay, you don't want to actually get into it, but you want to understand on a basic level so that when the conversation's happening, you're not guessing so much. That's what these are for. So why are 2 of these on here? Right? Why do we have 2 CSS books? Okay. HTML and CSS are standards, okay? But the web is not a static place, right? It's not like you build a house and the door stays in place and the windows stay in place, all that, right? Even when they say, okay, HTML5 and they say CSS, these things are changing even though they are existing standards in place, okay? So we started out with, your basic HTML5 and some things have changed. This is pretty much up to date. This was when CSS3 first got ratified. Its information is still solid. There's nothing in here that doesn't apply, but they've added some new layout features to CSS, which frankly I love. Okay, because it is all about making it fluid and just literally without needing tons of JavaScript or other code, you can make a completely fluid and elegant site that automatically fills up whatever size screen you've got, okay? Whether you've got a 50-inch screen or you've got something in your pocket, the same code will work across all of it as long as you follow the standards. People don't believe me when I first say this, but this is why these kinds of things are good, because they have examples in them. So you don't have to code the examples. You can go and show people examples that somebody else coded and show them how well it works. It is the type of thing that used to require a lot of additional code, and now you can do it simply, easily, and with very little overhead by just following the standard. So that's why there's those there. And then this is also, this is the one I had from before. So this is the responsible one from before. I've already messed my piles up. So there are 3 in this. It's HTML5, it's CSS3, and the new. So that's these 3 that I just showed you. All together, I'd guess we're talking, what, maybe 400 pages? Maybe. It's probably well under that. But it is simple, it is clear, it is not overwhelming. You do not have to be a code geek to understand these. They will make you feel much more confident to have those conversations with your business people, with your users, and with your developers just by reading these. I love these books. They make life so much easier. Okay, so Stacy says that she is checking out. I'm guessing she means she's checking out a book apart. Wonderful stuff. I think I have everything. They just released 2 new ones. One's on pre-release, one just came out. So other than the 2 new ones, I have everything. It's amazing. And you can get it, if you don't like paper, you can get it as an ebook, or you can get it as an ebook and paper, which is what I usually do, because I like to read this when I'm in the backyard, with a cup of coffee and throwing a ball for the puppy. But I like to have the ebooks just in case I need to refer to them while I'm at work, because I don't want to carry these around. So you have options. And John is a convert. CSS is amazing once you know how to use it, and the nice thing is you can start small. Okay, go in and change a couple of colors, and it all starts to make sense then. But you don't have to go there. You just read these so that you understand what it is that's being discussed, what is possible, how it works. Look at examples, provide those examples to the people on your team who maybe are not believers yet. You can get them to come around. It helps. Okay? So that's those. Let's see, where are we at now? Hang on, got that one, got that one, got that one. Okay, so we're at a break point, so that's good. So let me just jump in again. Remind you, we're talking about books for business analysts. It covers more than that, Stacy, as you'll see. But it's definitely the kind of quick reads that will help you do your job better, to give you new ideas about how to approach things, and just kind of keep your skills on the cutting edge, because that's where we all want to be, right? All right, let me just check in. Looks like we are still all up here. That's good. Awesome. Play Broke Deck. Welcome on Periscope. I love that name. And thank you for the hearts. I love that. The hearts and the thumbs up really do help. Okay. Let's keep going. Next up, we have the meat of things for all of us, right? It is the requirements documentation process. There are, thankfully, many books out there to help, because it is a complex type of project, right? Every project's gonna be a little different. Everybody, especially when you go in for those job interviews, right? They're always like, what is your process? Like, it's a cookie cutter and you follow the same recipe and it works for everything. That's not how it is, right? We have to be flexible. We have to have lots of different skills. We have to know how to approach different things, do things in different order all the time. These are books that focus on those kinds of challenges. Let's see. So let me go down and get my props. Here we go. Just to, I have read every single one of these, many of them twice. So here we are again. Yes, it's back to a book apart. This is all about how to approach a project from scratch. It does sort of take more of a design approach, as in it's more of like maybe a little bit more like a graphic design approach. Whoops! Sorry, dropped the book, scared the dog. Sorry, Murph. But don't let that throw you again. Just because something's a little bit outside of our normal area doesn't mean it doesn't have good information. And this has a lot of good information. It just so happens he uses a lot of design projects as examples, but the process, the information, the ideas, the tips are all just as applicable to us. So this is a good one. Then we have this one, which I think I have here. Oh, yeah, okay, we'll get back into that one. That's another good one. Okay. So, look familiar? Yeah, it's just like, whoops, just like that one right there. See that? That's this book. So this is about what we do. Okay, this is definitely written for us. Let me just bring it up alone. So this is designing requirements, building applications that the user wants and needs. But the focus is, how do you write the documentation to get there? And it goes into all of the things like, benchmarks and testing, regression testing, breaking things into tasks, all of that stuff. The hidden requirements that often come up during the process, the difference between what a user is asking for and what their real pain point is, how to get there, how to identify it, how to understand and work that into the requirements is all in here. This is a very handy book. Now this is a little bit larger. Let's see. It's just ballpark. It's a little over, just short of 350 pages, counting the appendix. But again, it's not a hard read. It's got, some graphics in it, but it's very practical, hands-on, focused. Anybody who is already doing this job will recognize some stuff and learn some new stuff. Anybody who is new to the whole idea of writing requirements, go here. This will definitely be a big help. Okay, then we have another one. And yes, we're going back to a book apart. I'm not, by the way, just as a reminder, no affiliate here. There is an affiliate link for the Amazon stuff, but not for a book apart, and I don't care. They're just that damn good. So just enough research, right? So this is an ongoing challenge, right? You get into a project, especially when you're new or you've started in a new place. Maybe you've got 10 years of experience, but you've just started in a new gig. So you're overwhelmed because you've got so much stuff you need to learn, right? You not only, maybe you're really secure in your BA skills, but you've got to learn their business and what their issues are and what they've got, what they don't have. Or if you're brand new to it and you're hitting all of this cold, how do you know when you've done enough? Erica has got us covered. This is another, easy one to read. What are we talking here? 154 pages. And it covers all of those questions about, how do you understand? How do you know when you've got enough information? How do you know when you can stop digging for now? And it's got a process to recommend, and it's got, things to look out for and tips on how to do your user research and how to do competitive and evaluative research and how to build your models and all that kind of stuff in 154 pages so that you are efficient, quick, and when you're ready to dive in and do stuff, to start working on your requirements, to feel confident that you've got the information that you need there, removing all of the politics and the blind spot issues and all that kind of stuff along the way. So this is, if you're only going to pick one book from the list, this is the one I would recommend. It's just such a valuable resource, and it will definitely help you, even if you've been doing this for a while and you really feel like you've got the process down. This is going to give you things that you haven't thought of before, and it's going to present things in a nicely, so clear and concise. It's lovely. And I have to admit, I kind of agree with her on the focus group thing, but we won't go into that now. It's a good thing Meyer isn't here because she doesn't agree with me on that. So anyway, so that is another big one as far as resource, not length of document. All right, and then I skipped ahead on that one. So let's go ahead and go to the next. Okay, so for you folks who are doing data intensive work, now whether that is reports or customer data management, dashboards, all that kind of stuff, this is super helpful. This is designing data intensive applications. It talks about how to get enough under the hood of systems that you don't necessarily understand and will probably never understand because of the way that they're built, and still get the information out of them that you need in order to design the application to work for the target audience. It is a bit of a bigger book. This is an O'Reilly book. Let me see. I'm guessing. We'll leave the... Yeah, it's a little over 500 pages. But the chapters are well organized. They're not incredibly painful. So if you break it up, and maybe do it over a couple of weeks, you can get through it pretty easily. But it is all about how, when you're working with big data, and let's face it, that is where things are right now, right? Everybody is about torrents of data coming in and getting the most value out of them. This will help you when you're working on those projects to make sure that they stay on track to be reliable, scalable, maintainable in the future, because that's the thing. We don't build these things for a week. We build them for a longer period, probably years. They'll probably live too long, but by following the suggestions and the processes in this book, your project stands a much better chance of having that kind of longevity. So this is another wonderful book. What does this say? Yeah, this one's a little pricey. This one is $45 in the US. But it's worth it if you are working on those kinds of data-rich kind of projects, which basically everybody I talk to these days is. Nobody seems to be able to get away from those, right? That's okay. There's lots of interesting problems to be solved in those. All right. So I think we're going to jump to the next one. Yes. So next up we have, okay. There comes a time in every business analyst's day, project, week, when you have to get up, right, and you have to start to communicate the information that you're collecting, the processes and the procedures that you are recommending as solutions, all that kind of stuff, and sooner or later you end up in front of a whiteboard having to draw. And I know that that is a big hang up for a lot of us. So the next series of books are ways to help you get over your hang up of I can't draw, can somebody else do this, somebody else write on the board for me thing, because it's not efficient. You need to be the one up there doing it. You need to be the one guiding things along. It's not a backseat driver kind of situation. So that's what we're going to talk about next. Okay? It really is something that can be resolved. So the first two are how to draw almost everything. Okay? I've got a new light in the studio, so it's a bit of a glare there. And pencil me in. Now, the reason I've got two of these is because some people are going to look at this and they're going to be like, oh, that's too much kid stuff. But that's the whole point. You know, kids don't think twice about drawing, right? They just sit down and they do it. And then somewhere along the line, we all decide that we can't draw anymore. So this just breaks things into simple patterns. And at the end of it, you know, you have something recognizable. And the point of this type of a book is to go home and do it. Work through the exercises and start to realize that with a circle, a line, you know, and a square, you can pretty much do everything you need to do, because the whole point of the whiteboard exercises is not Mona Lisa level art. It's just to communicate the ideas. And so doing this, getting comfortable with just basic techniques, will be the kind of thing that will make you more comfortable about it. But if you're going to get hung up on the fact that this looks kind of cartoonish, Christina's got us covered. Okay, so Christina has got this book. It's pencil me in, the business drawing book for people who can't draw. Okay, and again, it is all about just simple, right? How to simply go up there to the board and square, circle, triangle, if you want to be fancy, you know, and lines, and draw what you need to draw. This one again is very short, 165-ish pages, but it is a very handy resource, and if you commit a little bit of time to doing this work, you will get the results out of it, and you will find yourself not even thinking twice and just jumping up there and concentrating on the information you're trying to communicate instead of your own insecurities about drawing or not being able to. So this is the first one. It's like under $10. And this is Christina's. See, I buy these. I bought all of these. I didn't buy them all from Amazon, but I did buy all of these. So this is Christina's book. And again, it's simple, it's to the point. It really, if you just spend some time doing it, you will get over the hang-ups. All right, let's keep going. I gotta get this out of the way again. Okay, so next up, continuing along that line, once you get a little more comfortable with it, this is a good one to go with. Because now, once you get over the I can't draw thing, because we all can draw enough to do this, you've got this kind of a book that just explains how to explain things with images. People will always comprehend things better if you give them a picture. So this is filled with examples. I'm just looking for some that'll show up well on the screen here. This is a good one. Okay, it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to be able to identify individuals in it. But by applying these simple techniques, it will make your ideas, your plans, your recommendations much easier for everybody to get the point of quickly. So this is another good one, The Art of Explanation. And then another one for that is Communication Design. And this one gets very much into process flows, workflows, task flows, flow charts, all those kinds of things. How to know which one to use where, suggestions on how to make them clearer for people who are not comfortable reading them, all that kind of good stuff. So let me bring these up again. So go back one. So this is the first one, How to Draw Almost Everything. It really is almost everything. Pencil Me In by Christina. The Art of Explanation. This is actually, this is written by the guy, you know, for a while it was real popular to have the, for promotion or for the release of a new product, they do like the whiteboard drawings, like you'd see the hand drawing the picture and somebody would be talking over it. This was the company who was doing all those. They made a lot of money off of those. And then this is, it's this book, but this is, oops, yeah, nope, this one. This is the updated version of this book is what I'm saying. So that's the link I'm going to give you. I think this is version, yeah, that's the second edition. This was the first edition. So, we're almost to the end. Are we okay? Is anybody's head melting? Do we need to have any conversations about, yes, you can do this? Obviously, you know, you don't have to set the goal of reading every single one of these. Pick the topic that is the biggest challenge for you. Pick the topic that is the area of interest for you and work on those. I'm just throwing a lot of different options out there because our audience has lots of different types of projects that they're working on. So I kind of figured Stacey would say, this is getting to the whole drawing thing, right? With a little practice, circles, lines, and squares, there you go. And you can even get, at least I thought of this, you can even get templates, right? So there's rulers that you can get that have little squares on it if you're just doing it on a piece of paper in a meeting. And there are ones that you can use for a whiteboard. So if you were really hung up about it, you can go and spend a couple of bucks getting, is template the word, Stacey? I think that's it. But anyway, you know what I mean. It's like it's a frame and it's got a circle and a square and lines and you just go and draw. If you're really uptight about drawing it yourself, you can do that kind of stuff. But it is with a little practice. If you do it at home, one day you're going to show up at work and do this and you're going to be so confident about doing it and you're going to have these very clear, concise drawings that people are going to be able to understand and you're going to be a rock star. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that, John. I don't want to melt anybody's brains. That's the opposite of what we're trying to achieve here. We're trying to just give people, whenever people get recommendations about BA books to read, it's, you know, Babcock and all those kind of standard things. So that's why we're going with a slightly different approach because these are more about the practical stuff that will help you do your job better the day after you finish reading it. So thank you for that. Thank you. I take those as a win. Thank you very much for that. Awesome. Okay. So, where was I? Okay, right. We're almost to the end. That's right. Now I remember. Okay. So, now that we have covered the day-to-day kind of thing, right? Now we're going to talk about some up-and-coming topics. So we've got a couple of books on things that are already getting a lot of attention, already becoming a part of a lot of projects, and are just going to snowball over the next year or two. Some of it is a little intense, but in a good way. So let's see, I have some of these. Don't have all of them. I couldn't find one of them. I loan out books a lot, and so I think some of them are on loan. So this is the first one. Okay, this is Conversational Design. Yes, it's a book apart again. Oh man, I wish I had a referral program. So again, this is just another quick one. So the thing about this book is it's all about IoT. It doesn't necessarily refer to it that way, but it's about how you talk through voice response systems, how you talk to the assistants, all those kinds of things, how you set up, patterns for, when you tell a device to do something, it actually does 3 or 4 things. It's about getting information from, I'm trying not to use the names because I don't want to trigger people's devices, but if you're asking for information from one of your smart assistants, how that can work and how that can be such a boon to people with, bless you, Murphy, with any kinds of, are you okay? Okay. Oh my goodness. Must have gotten his nose in a pile of dust. So about how those kinds of devices and how that kind of conversational design can help people with physical issues, mental issues, that type of thing. So it is a big win for people. And so it is a really good book to read. And again, I'm not going to keep going back to their site because I figure you've seen it. 125 pages. Murphy, what is wrong? Are you okay? You're sneezing your little head off. Your little head's going to come off. Okay, I'm almost done, Murph. Okay, next up. Ambient findability. Okay. This is actually a book that was ahead of its time because the topic of it is what we find changes who we become. Okay, so if anybody's been paying attention, to the Facebook issues, to the Google issues, all that kind of stuff. That's what this is about, okay? And it's about how to be aware of those things as you are going through the process of designing your systems. See, Murphy feels strongly about it too. Because these are the kinds of things that are better when they're thought about ahead of time. And they're not always. And it's the kind of thing that in hindsight is always, oh God, why didn't we think of that? This book will help give you some tips and techniques to avoid those moments, think of those things beforehand, and get them taken care of in your project. So this is another good one. It's funny. I go back to this every couple of years. This one came out 2005. This gentleman was ahead of his time on this topic. This is a great resource, a great way to kind of open your mind up and get you thinking about things that in hindsight will seem logical, but I guarantee you're not thinking about as you're working on your projects now. Okay, so that's those two. And then we've got this one. This is one I'd like to buy for everybody, but I can't, so I'm going to recommend it to you. This was the direct result of Eric Meyer, who is actually in the geeky CSS world. He's kind of a hero. He's not kind of a hero, he is a hero. I've learned an unbelievable amount from that man. But he went through a really rough time. I'm not going to get into it. It's kind of covered in the book, but made him rethink a lot of things that he's done in his career. And so this is all about the mistakes that we all make on our projects, not meaning to be short-sighted. Keep putting this on the wrong side. Not meaning to be short-sighted, not meaning to be hurtful, not meaning to inflict pain, but how sometimes inadvertently that's exactly what we're doing. And so this is, again, it's another short book. It's, what are we looking at? 125 pages. But it just gets you to start to add to your process of documenting things a list of checkpoints, because everything starts with the happy path. Okay, we're designing this so that people will be able to do this task easier, but then to look at it in other ways. So just as an example, so if you are building maybe a website, right, for a company that throws events, right, so people can see previous events that have been done, get ideas for their own events, and then go ahead and maybe schedule an appointment or whatever. And so you go through that process of what's the date, what's the type, how many people, what's the venue going to be like. All those kinds of things would be a normal part of your discovery process, right? And then at the end, maybe you're like, hey, let's reach out to them, afterwards, and say, thanks, and, a survey about, were you happy? Did everybody have fun? All that kind of stuff. And so they put that whole kind of thing together. I've got stacks of books everywhere. I'm knocking stuff all over the place. What we all forget to factor into that is just because most of the time event planning is weddings and bar mitzvahs and christenings and birthday parties and retirement parties and all these kind of helpful things. Sometimes the event is a funeral, and maybe you don't want to send out the happy, hey, did everybody have a good time at your event on this date, if it was a funeral, right? But it's that kind of thing that, like, of course in hindsight you're gonna be like, duh, but I guarantee you that there are people out there right this second working on projects that aren't having that thought, because they're thinking about, well, 90% of our work is all this happy stuff, but if there is anything, or if there could be something, even if it's sort of off use for whatever your project or service or whatever is, you just want to think about it. You want to at least have the conversation before you go there. So anyway, I'm not going to go any farther with that, but that's just an example of the type of thing that book helps you go through. And just think about it. It may not be something that you're going to cover on every project, but by going through the process as you're doing your discovery, as you're writing your requirements, if you're thinking about it, you're increasing the odds of not inflicting harm where you didn't mean to. This is another one. Okay, this is obviously for the world, the kind of thing that some of us are going to be working on, right? So it brings up, this is more of a textbook, so it's a little pricey, but you can rent it. But it's about designing for situational awareness, right? So if you are designing a game like Candy Crush, the chances of harm is much lower than if you are designing, a radar system that's going to be installed at an airport to help land planes, right? Or, something, that the military is using, which some of us work on those kind of projects. So it's just another set of ideas and points to keep in mind as you go through things that are on that level. And it's a really good book. Like I said, it's a little pricey, but you can rent it in a lot of places. So it is definitely worth taking the time of reading. I don't remember how many pages this one is. It's a textbook, so it's a little long. It's 400 pages, let's be real. So, but if you are working or intend to ever work on a project like this, it is the kind of thing that you should reach out and find, either this one or other versions of this type of material, just so you don't overlook things that could be catastrophic, right? I mean, so for the U.S. here, this is just a timely example. I mean, if it's not necessarily a death situation, but one of the major, how do I phrase? I don't want to bring the company out because it's not about the company, it's about the process. One of the companies that does blood work for hospitals, individuals, all that kind of stuff, right, has had a major breach. Now, it wasn't their breach, it was one of their third-party service providers. In the end, it doesn't matter because it's their name that's getting dragged down. It's their customers whose information now is in danger, and it's their stock, it's their teams that are going to get the hit. So it's that kind of thing where, it's like, it's not just enough to look at, okay, well, we're doing okay, because if you are working with third-party products, you have to make sure that they are also up to your standards, just as an example. So there is that. Okay, I think, yes, that is it. That has covered that. I think Stacy had another, yes, so this is, it's funny, Stacy, I almost put this one on here, but that's the thing, like, some people get a little, it feels too artist. But Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain is an excellent book if somebody does want to get a little bit deeper into the whole how people process information, how you go about, drawing things to communicate. That is another great book. I actually had that one, and there was another one after that. I can't remember the name of it. You probably know. But yes, that is a good one. Actually, I had my hands on that. But because actually, it's funny you bring that up. That was actually a book that somebody gave me when they realized that I was very comfortable building the materials to present, but not comfortable jumping up on a whiteboard to do them. And it's funny, that was one of the first books that I was given that helped me get over it, and I'm completely over it now. All right, so if you have any questions, any comments, if you want more information, if you are not on Facebook or YouTube and you would still like to get the links to these books, give me a little time. Give me like a day, but go to thebazone.com, and in the blog there will be a list of all of these books there. Or if you just have questions, comments, if you have other topics you want us to cover, feel free to go there and let us know. You can also reach out to us on Twitter if you don't like websites for some reason. Everybody's got their thing, so you can tweet at us or DM us on Twitter. It's the BA Zone there also. And I think, that's the other thing, we do have a mailing list. Feel free to sign up. We use that to let people know what the topic's going to be. If there's going to be any changes in our schedule, which we've had a few of in the past few weeks. There may be more over the summer just because it's the summer. We're trying to keep it to a minimum. But feel free, we don't collect a lot of information. We don't sell it to anybody, so you don't have to worry about that. Believe me, we're all in the same boat on that one. But if you want to stay on top of things, we're also kicking around some ideas for some things we might launch in the fall. So if you want to be the first to find out about that, the mailing list is the place to go. All right, everybody, I'm going to do one more pass through, see if there's any comments that I might have missed, because the tools are good, but they're a little wonky sometimes. Oh, yes. Oh, Stacy, I love that. Oh, I'm going to steal that. We kind of have to have our hands in everything to be successful. Yes, that is the life of a business analyst. Okay, we don't get to be, a Java developer or a .NET developer, or a project manager. We have to be able to multitask. We have to be able to function in a lot of different worlds, which is why this kind of stuff is so helpful, because if you have a question, there's answers out there. I know some people, get a little overwhelmed because they feel like all of the books are this size, but they're not. See? You can have the big book, you can have the small book. Whatever works for you, right? Sometimes, maybe you start with a small book, you really get into the topic, and then you want the big book. But that's why we try to keep these to the shorter reads when we have these lists that we put together, because there are other resources if you want to deep dive. But for those of us who need to get just enough information, just enough research to get the project done and make the right suggestions for the solutions for the problems we're solving, they're out there. They're not hard to find. You can get them as ebooks, you can get them as paper books, however you prefer to absorb it. There's a bunch of them now that are also audiobooks. So however it is that you learn best, you just go for it. There's plenty of options out there. I will put the links in Facebook. I will put them on YouTube, and they will be on the website probably tomorrow-ish. Okay? All right, everybody, thank you so much. I hope you found this helpful. I hope that those of you who have been asking for more books feel like you have enough to read for a while. Normally we try to keep it down to 5, but I was like, to heck with it. She's not going to be here. I can just talk and talk and talk. All right, and on that topic, see, again, I went almost an hour. See, whenever I'm left to my own devices, I go an hour. This is why you want Meyer to be here doing this. She keeps things much tighter. Have a good one, everybody. Meyer will be back next week. I don't know what her topic is yet, but if you're signed up for the mailing list, you'll find out. Have a good one. We will talk soon. Bye.